Hello, my name is Ashley Robinson and I'm the editor of Spud Smart, and I'm here at Manitoba Potato Production Days with Tracy Shinners-Carnelley from Peak of the Market. And it is the 50th anniversary of Manitoba Potato Production Days, so everyone's been kind of being a bit nostalgic, and of course I know Tracy's been to a few of these conferences, so maybe can you just tell me about your first one? You mentioned it during the presentation this morning.
Yeah, you know, my first potato days was back in January of 2000. I had first moved to Manitoba just a few weeks before Potato Production Days, and actually at that time it was called Horticultural Production Days. So it was a potato show combined with also meetings for fruit growers and vegetable growers. So potatoes was always sort of the largest group of that, given the size of the industry. But yeah, it was 3 different groups under that Horticultural Production Days. And we used to host that meeting over at the Victoria Inn here in Brandon. But over time, certainly we outgrew that venue and made a few different transformations over the years until we landed here at the Keystone Centre.
And so of course you've been to a couple of MPPDs then. So what's been your favorite memory over the years?
Oh, you know, there's lots of good memories. I think it's hard to come up with the one, but the one that I, sort of had a bit of a chuckle about with the audience here this morning is thinking back to those phases of years where we were going through a bit of growing pains, right? Our meeting was growing, which is a great problem to have, right? Our attendance kept going up over the years, and the venue that we had previously been at couldn't accommodate us that much anymore. But it was also at the time where Keystone Centre was here, but the hotel wasn't at this location. So I think one of the things that people always appreciate about this meeting is, under one roof, the social aspect, the technical aspect, but all, here under one roof. So when the hotel actually was built here on the site of the Keystone Centre, it was a natural progression to move here. But in the interim, before it was available, we couldn't fit all into the Victoria Inn. We actually used the bar at the Victoria Inn as the speaker program room. So the trade show was in the convention area, and then when it was speaker time, we'd open up the doors and herd everybody out across the parking lot to go into the bar that at the time was named the Inferno. So it was a very interesting venue because, the lights were up, which normally in the bar, the lights are dim. The chairs were there. We were up on the stage giving presentations. I guess at the time there was kind of the thing to have kind of like the dancing cage in bars, so that was off to the side stage, so it made for a real interesting venue. Obviously it wasn't ideal, but it really helped serve our needs in that interim and accommodate us as our show was growing. And so that was at a time when our trade show was limited to just booths and smaller exhibits. But when we moved to the Keystone, it really was that first stage and really that exponential growth of Potato Days and the opportunity to expand the trade show and include larger equipment and more space for exhibitors and participants and lots of opportunities that came with that.
Well, I think a barn makes more sense to have presentations in for an ag conference than a bar, but I do know there's a lot of socializing that happens at these conferences, so it's not that illogical.
No, exactly. Right, and here this is such a unique location, and yes, we're in the barn today, which is also a new room for us and a new configuration to the show to once again accommodate the growth we've been seeing over the years. And as I shared with participants this morning, I think when we look at how Potato Days has changed over 50 years, it's probably quite indicative to the way that the potato industry in Manitoba has changed as well. Continue to grow, continue to innovate, and I think the attendance here speaks to that desire for growers and people in the industry to really want to always be improving and innovating.
And of course, the past few years we haven't been able to gather due to the pandemic. Sadly, you guys, you're on the organizing committee for this conference, and I know you guys were so close to having it last year, and then sadly had to pull the plug. So how does it feel to be here after the past 2 years of you guys trying so hard to be able to get to this moment?
Well, I think it feels great, right? It's I think what we've realized over the last couple of years is technology can be great, right? It's a good fill-in and pinch for us, but at the end of the day, it's really great to get together and enjoy each other's company and friendship in this industry.
And of course, you got to give the first presentation of MPPD 2023 to this morning, and you talked a lot about the changes that we've seen in regards to pesticides and stuff, and some of the updates that we're seeing with the PMRA. And of course, you mentioned, well, some of the changes we were talking about, they were announced a couple of years ago, but we haven't been able to gather, and you haven't had this platform to be able to share some of those changes. So can you maybe just talk quickly about them and just remind some people some things that they need to keep in mind for some products they may not be able to use this growing season?
Yeah, it's a good point, Ashley, because for so long in our industry, we're always sort of trying to keep on top of these changes and decisions that are coming out from PMRA. Back in 2018, 2020, there were some final decisions on some big active ingredients that we use in the potato industry. Those decisions were announced, and just over the last couple of years, we've been in this transition time where announcement, but yet working towards these final changes being made. So for this coming crop season, certainly there's some changes that we need to be aware of. From the all the changes that were announced to the Mancozeb labels back in 2020, those are now going to be enforced for this year. So looking at the maximum number of applications down to 8. The Mancozeb-based seed treatments are no longer acceptable. And then the other big change that we're seeing on the insecticide piece is that a lot of the special review decisions on the neonics as they apply to potatoes are in effect for this crop year. So the in-furrow and soil drench applications that were on some of those familiar labels will no longer be acceptable for this coming year.
Okay, great things to keep in mind, and thank you so much for chatting with me, and we still have a full day of fun left, so I will see you around the rest of the trade show, and if you're here, and please just stop and talk to us. We are so excited to be here.
Great, thanks Ashley.